WayTV.com. Tonight, a bill to reform Alabama's Board of Pardons and Paroles is on Governor Kay Iveys' desk. Lawmakers started pushing for change after a series of Way 31 I-Team stories revealed systemic problems with the board and members letting violent offenders out early.
Once signed, the law will give the governor and attorney general more oversight of the board. It will also strengthen victim notification and stop early paroles for violent offenders. Way 31's Brecken Terry is live at the Capitol, where she's been working on this story for almost a year.
Now, this parole bill is centered around a parolee now charged with killing 3 people in Marshall County. Brecken, based off that case, there is still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, guys, there is. In the Jimmy Spencer case, we were able to find out and prove that he was a lifelong career criminal. He was supposed to be serving a life sentence for crimes he committed in Franklin County. He actually remained to be a violent person while he was even in prison for some 30 years. And then when his parole hearing came up in November 2017, the Board of Pardons and Paroles did not notify Spencer's original victim in Franklin County about his parole hearing, nor did they notify the DA. Now, the DA says it's possible that maybe it got lost in the mail, but they were never notified, or they would have contested Spencer's parole hearing. Now, after he was paroled, he was actually sent to a halfway house in Birmingham, where he was supposed to be there for 6 months. He walked away from there after just a couple of weeks, and then he somehow made his way over into Guntersville. He was actually arrested on June 14th by Sardis police for resisting arrest, attempting to elude, and drug charges. Those police officers notified Spencer's parole officer, who didn't do anything about it. They never revoked his parole. And then a couple of weeks later, Spencer was arrested for murdering Colton Lee, Marie Martin, and Martha Relaford on Mulberry Street in Guntersville. So definitely a lot of flaws in this system, but I do want to make it clear Spencer was not an early parolee. He had served close to 30 years while he was in prison.
Brecken, does this fix all of those problems?
This bill does not fix all of the problems, but it is a good start to fixing all of these systemic problems. Now, what this bill does is it strengthens notification. Now, what that means is that the Board of Pardons and Paroles is going to have to do their extreme due diligence and work directly with the Attorney General's office and local district attorneys' offices to make sure that every single person in a case and district attorney is notified when a person is coming up for parole. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't prevent the parole board from sending someone to a halfway house, even though the parole board has told me in the past, because of the Spencer case, they're no longer sending parolees to Jimmy Hill missions in Birmingham.
I reckon this entire process must have been incredibly frustrating for victims' families. What are they feeling right now?
I actually just spoke with a couple of victims' families, and they told me they feel a little bit more confident in the process. They told me that they are excited to see the governor and attorney general have more oversight over the parole board, but they're still a little bit reserved because they do still have these fears about the leadership at the parole board. So they told me they're not jumping up and down because, again, this is not, it's good that this bill has been passed at this point, but the reasons why we're here, like the Attorney General's office said, should have never happened. Those 3 people should have never had to lose their lives because of this. But victims' families tell me they're kind of holding their breath at this point to see how all of this plays out and exactly what changes will be happening in the next several months. Guys?
Thanks. Brecken Terry reporting live from Montgomery.
And shortly after the bill passed the Senate, the Southern Poverty Law Center came out against this legislation.
Now, the organization said in part HB 380, if signed into law by the governor, will exacerbate the overcrowding problem. Limiting parole limits one of the most effective pathways to reducing overcrowding and the violence faced by Department of Corrections staff and incarcerated people. The SPLC said, according to its study on Department of Corrections data, the parole system is working. The group said this legislation will punish rehabilitated inmates, causing them to stay in prison longer. The attorney for the families of those 3 people killed in Guntersville last summer released this statement, quote, while this is little consolation for the families of Colton, Marie, and Martha, the strengthening of Alabama's parole system is the only positive that could have come from these tragic losses. The man charged with their deaths, Jimmy Spencer, was a parolee at the time. The Way 31 I-Team has been looking into the state parole board for more than a year now. All of our previous reporting on this case is online at WayTV.com under the I-Team tab.
A little bit of relief today as